Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna talk. I'm just gonna talk. People can look at this later. All right. So this past Sunday, I had an incident, quite a large one actually, with involving an assault that I intervened in, which led to me being verbally assaulted and death threats being uttered, and then eventually somehow led to me being treated as a threat by an officer and him pulling his taser on me, even though I'm the one that called for help. Yeah, it's one of those. I'm gonna do my best to process this as I get it out. It's been a few days now, but still, it's just the shock factor of what the fuck is going on. So Sunday night, was over at the girl I'm seeing's apartment and hanging out with her, making dinner. There's a bit of a disturbance outside. The landlord of the building is actually outside, just drunk and high with his friends, sitting on the front lawn, being just belligerent, being disgusting, rude, screaming profanity, threatening people, just being a nuisance. Anyways, fast forward, one of the dogs on the front lawn is barking and just won't shut up. It's really loud. It is quite annoying. And so what the landlord decided to do was take it out on this little girl, 19 to maybe 20 years old, just, small girl, doesn't actually live in the apartment, doesn't have keys to get in, can't do anything about the dog. It's not actually her dog. It turns out it's her mother's dog. Landlord doesn't care. Landlord keeps swearing at her, keeps yelling at her, walks all the way over to her, at which point I'm now looking out the window and watching this happen, where he's cussing, doing all this stuff, threatening her, yelling at her at the top of her lungs. I'm talking maybe 7-8 feet away from her. She's sitting down, he's standing over her to intimidate her. She calls out for him to leave her alone. She's becoming uncomfortable, and that's kind of when it started to get a little bit too intense. And so I picked up my phone and was making the decision, should I call the police? Is it worth it? Is it worth it to call them? Can I go downstairs and make this stop myself? Whatever it is. And then he decides that it's time to threaten her and steps in out of my line of sight under an overhang, and she lets out a scream, and so I tear down the stairs on the phone, already dialing 911. On the phone with dispatcher, trying to give the story out. I come out the front door and I kind of split the two, so landlord here, girl over here, and she's on the phone with the police, so we're kind of split. I walk through them. He doesn't have access to her anymore. Her mom and her friend from upstairs have come downstairs and are dealing. They're on the phone with the police. I'm on the phone with the police. We're giving the descriptions of this guy, trying to explain the situation, that there was an assault. And, this guy is just relentless. He keeps trying to walk us down. He's walking us to scream at the girls and to try to get my attention. I'm ignoring him. We walk a block. He's still following us. Dispatcher just tells us to keep walking away. We're trying to. He's now turning his attention towards me, threatening my life. Trigger warning, bad language coming. Fuck you, nigger. I'm gonna kill you, nigger. Dirty ass nigger. All the fun stuff. All the stuff that normally would get me to turn and be mad. We'll go with that. Anyways, we're walking away. Still walking. He finally loses his interest. We're about a block down the road. Now he loses interest, goes back to the front of the building. Police finally decide to show up. Sarah actually comes out of her apartment looking for me because I disappeared out of the front. And comes and helps me keep the girls sane, who are all in hysterics, especially the young girl who was assaulted. In complete hysterics, we're trying to get them to a safe place. The dispatcher says to get back into the apartment, and I'm supposed to go wait for the police officer. We get the girls into the apartment, lock the doors, and by the time that we get back to the apartment, the police officer is there. So I go back downstairs to explain the situation to him. When I get downstairs, he's already chumming it up with the guy that assaulted the girl. With a full description on my, this has happened. I've given a full description, as well as the girl. Want to know how I know that? Because she repeated what I said to my dispatcher to theirs. They have a full description. They're chumming it up like they're best friends. The landlord now has a friend outside. The friend outside turns his attention towards me and starts threatening me and getting in my face. As this is happening, the landlord is still talking to the officer, who has decided, after I've signaled that is the problem, decides to back away and take his sweet-ass time getting out of his car, which leaves time for the landlord to now turn his attention to me. So now I have two guys, 6 foot plus, 290 plus pounds, walking me down, screaming death threats in my face, with no help from the officer. None whatsoever. He's still in his fucking car. And he finally gets out. As these guys are nose to nose with me, I'm gonna bury you right there next to the other body, nigger. Come around here again, see what happens to you, nigger. You're not gonna make it after this, you're dead. In my face, in full range of the officer to hear it. Everything is going on at 100 miles an hour right now. The officer is screaming at me. I can't hear him because there's a fucking threat in my face. I am backing towards the apartment. My back's to the apartment. One guy is here. The other guy's right beside him, and the officer is somewhere off in the back doing fuck all knows what. Now, as I finally clock that the officer is out of his vehicle, coming around, he got his hand on his weapon already. You know, standard procedure. Some of you are going to say, whatever the fuck, kiss my ass. Fine. As he comes around the backside and he's about 15 feet away, his hand is still on his weapon, and I notice that he is not even worried about these two. He's screaming at me to get back into apartment, which I don't have keys for, and the door does not open to the public. I am backing away, having death threats yelled in my face, and this cop has now circled me and has me in his line of sight, and only me. As I'm trying to explain to him that I'm the one that called, this is the description, this is the assault, what do you mean? I can't go anywhere. And I'm trying to keep my eyes in here where I've got guys nose to nose with me still, screaming in my face, they're going to murder me in front of an officer who's now treating me as a threat. Now here's where it gets a bit shitty. Than it did. As the biggest of them is now touching my nose, spitting in my face death threats, putting his hands on me, the officer decides to draw his weapon. Now thank fuck I had actually halved this way to see where he went, to see that he'd actually reached over here to pull his taser out. Now I think that he's getting ready to defend me, which is stupid because I know how the fuck this goes. He's not. What he's doing is drawing his taser and aiming it at me. At me. Both of my hands are up. I don't have a weapon when I see the weapon drawn. I am being attacked by two people, and my back is going against a wall that I can't get through. And I became the threat. He has his taser pointed at my fucking face, while two dudes bigger than me are walking me down and screaming death threats at me, putting their hands on me. When he pulled his weapon, when he drew it, everything in me for more than a split second slowed down. Because had I not been looking, I would have been in fear for my life, because I was until I clocked that it was with a taser, and then I was just in fear for my well-being, my own safety. And I want to go on a tangent so bad as to why black people don't call the officer, but I won't bore you with that. You guys aren't fucking stupid. You know why. This is why. Now, you'd think it would be over, but it isn't. Because as he's screaming orders at me, these guys are still walking me down into a door. I have to make a decision to protect my own well-being by turning my back to two people threatening to murder me, to pull on a door to show to the officer who's trying to harm me that I can't go anywhere, that I can't do anything. And when I turned my back, I literally had no idea what was going to happen to me. Instead of being 2-on-2, instead of coming and supporting me, it became 3-on-1. Like fucking that. The excuse from his co-working, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, officer, was, well, you don't look like you can't fight. So he was probably just more worried about what you were going to do to them than what they were going to do to you. So what you're telling me is you saw a large black man in defense of his own fucking life, and not only his own fucking life, other people, and saw him as the threat. Both of these guys are bigger than me, taller, wider, screaming death threats, and all I'm doing is trying to get them the fuck out of my face and get his attention for help. And I became the threat, and the excuse was, I'm a bigger nigga. What do I want to come of this live? I don't know. I know that this shit has to stop. I know that when I got home that night, because now I have Sarah and her daughter living with me because it's not a fucking safe place for them to live anymore. When I get back to my house that night, I get a phone call from the officer who aimed his weapon at me. His excuse? I was being loud. You mean I'm supposed to be quiet? See, here's the set of rules. Here's the set of rules that we kind of fucking talk about all the time. This extra set, this unspoken, this where are we supposed to find them written rules for existing as black people in here? And one of them is turn your volume down so you make white people with guns more comfortable. To assess a situation that they already had information in, since I spent 45 fucking minutes on the phone with them. Too loud, and again, the same excuse. You don't look like you cannot fight, and I have to protect everybody. So then where was my protection when I made the phone call? How did I get treated as the threat when I was the victim, as well as the other young woman and the other two women who, when we were walking them down, then became the targets of his assault as well? So in all of this, I am supposed to, with death threats in my face, have a fucking conversation with an officer who is armed, who is yelling orders that I am trying to respond to while making sure I don't get fucked up from in front to a door that doesn't open. Supervisor of the day, by the way. Supervisor for the whole thing. You're telling me that as a trained officer, with a description given to you in 2 phone calls, because that's how dispatch goes, you get the description of what you're fucking looking for, so you don't get hurt, which is what the fuck he was afraid of, apparently for me, even though I had 2 guys walking. A supervisor, a trained officer that oversees other officers, is the one who made the decision that because I was in defense of my life, a threat. The way that this system is run, the way that they treat people every day is beyond fucked up. But to have to now go through the trauma, and if you don't think that it's trauma, I've spent 4 days in this house. 4 days trying to figure out right from left, because I can't figure out how, when I called the police to help someone else, and I went and did their job, did I still become the threat? And here's the flip side of that coin is I know fucking why. The officer in the phone call told me that no matter if I filed my report, he deems what he did to be right. That sentence alone fucked me up because he's right. The system is built so that even if I do what I'm going to do, and that's I'm going to go file the complaint, I'm going to make this voice that I have now is going to get louder, and it's going to be direct, and I'm the fuck over this because he knows that that line is true. What the fuck am I going to do? Make a report? What's going to happen? Nothing? Nothing ever happens. Well, not this time, because you fucked with the wrong one. You know, I get to do this work. I have a spot for my voice for this. And to be treated as a threat so goddamn fast proves that I need to add my voice to this fight full time. Because this is bullshit. That I have to go through this trauma. That Sarah has to go through this trauma. That her 8-year-old, who was trying to go to bed at the time, has to go through this trauma of being unhomed, dehauled, whatever the fuck you want to say. We have to find them a place to live because of this incident. We have to find them a place to live because of the decisions of some greasy fuck of a landlord and an incompetent officer. Because what happened was racism, inherent bigotry. And that's going to make some of you go, oh, how do you know that? You want to know how I know that? Because there's no way following procedure that I should have become the threat unless there was an ulterior fear because of what I look like. Because that was what was told to me by 2 officers, including the one who drew and aimed at me. His taser, if you've made it this far. There's no reason for me to be in that much fear after calling the police. This is why we don't call them. How can we feel safe when that shit happens? And it happened directly to me. You want to tell me this doesn't happen in Edmonton and Canada? It fucking just happened to me on Sunday. There's 50 witnesses. You cannot tell me this doesn't happen here. We've been trying to scream at you. What is it going to take? Does one of us have to die for you to believe us? Or are you going to start listening when it happens to somebody like me and I tell you about it? When is this going to stop? Thank you for joining me, guys. I'm going to take a bit of a break here. I've got a lot of work to do in the coming weeks with this incident. If you guys are prayers or well-wishers, please send them my way, send them Sarah's way. We're in a weird spot in just having life turned upside down and having to deal and heal and find and all this stuff. And if you guys just, can just send up an extra prayer for us in the coming days, in the coming weeks, as we figure out what's going to happen next, as I figure out what's going to happen with charges against the landlord, with who to talk to, where the complaint's going to go, what's going to happen as I go after this officer for just absolute ridiculous poor judgment. I probably won't be on social media all that much, honestly. Sorry, I'm getting worked up again because I'm so fucking mad. And yet at the same time, all I can see is in slow motion, I keep repeating him drawing it. And I keep remembering, hearing my head going, what the fuck is going on? Because when I called, I knew. When that dispatcher answered in my head, out loud, I said, why am I doing this? I know how this goes. And then it went. Anyways, apologize. I'm going to take a little bit of a break here, and from social media still, as I try to work with Sarah and the appropriate people on this. And just, yeah. I love you guys. Please, if you're here, if you see this, please, what you can do is help share this story. It needs to get out as far as possible. We need as many eyes on this as possible. I need as many people to see that this shit happens. I need this to be the farthest reaching video that you guys have helped me with, because I'm about to make some fucking noise with it. I'm upset now and I'm in tears, and there's probably going to be more tears, but I am angry and I am determined, and I am not going to let this just go and get swept under the rug. I love you guys. Thank you so much for your support always. I'm going to need it now more than ever. Love you guys. Peace.